Today is the most awaited day for all Jungkook fans. He is in a safe house provided by his management. However, there is one strict rule that is enforced. No fans are allowed to enter and see him in person. A girl named Hannah is a big fan of Jungkook. She has followed her idol's career journey for a long time, memorizing every song lyric, even decorating her room with Jungkook posters and knickknacks. When she heard the news that Jungkook was in the same city as her, Hannah felt her heart beat faster. "I have to see him, even if it's just for a moment," she muttered while tightly gripping the BTS light stick in her hand. With burning determination, Hannah tried to find a way to approach the house. She saw from a distance that the security was very tight. Security guards stood at every corner, making sure that no strangers approached. However, Hannah did not give up so easily. She sneaked to the back of the house and found a window that was slightly open. Cautiously, she peeked inside. The room looked empty, except for a large sofa and a few personal belongings. Her heart beat faster. Could this be her chance? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps grew closer. Hannah held her breath, hiding behind the bushes. From the gap in the window, she saw someone enter the room. Jungkook. Hannah covered her mouth with her hand, holding back the scream that almost came out. Jungkook looked so real, so close. He was wearing a black hoodie and casual pants, looking very different from the stage that always shone. Jungkook looked tired, but his eyes were still shining. Hannah wanted to call his name, wanting Jungkook to know that there was someone who loved and supported him very much out there. However, she knew that breaking this rule could have bad consequences. If she was caught, not only would she be in trouble, but Jungkook would also be disturbed. Hannah remained silent, watching Jungkook, who was now sitting on the sofa staring at his cell phone screen. Every now and then, he smiled a little, as if reading a message that made him happy. Hannah wondered, was he reading a message from a fellow BTS member? Or maybe from someone special? Time passed so slowly. Hannah felt a mixture of happiness and sadness. She tried to capture the moment in her memory. However, her consciousness returned when the security guard's voice got closer. She had to leave immediately before her whereabouts were discovered. With a heavy heart, Hannah turned around and started walking away from the house. She felt her legs were heavy, as if something was holding her back. But she knew this was the best decision. When she was almost at the corner of the fence, Hannah suddenly heard a soft voice from behind her. "Be careful." The voice was soft but clearly audible. Hannah froze. It was Jungkook's voice. She turned her head slowly, but didn't see anyone behind the window. Was she just hallucinating? Or was Jungkook really aware of her presence? With a small smile and teary eyes, Hannah walked again, this time with a lighter heart. Even though she couldn't greet him directly, at least she knew Jungkook cared. That was more than enough. Sometimes, loving someone means knowing when to stop and let them have room to breathe, without having to lose the love itself. The afternoon sunlight slipped in through the hospital window, creating a golden light pattern on the walls of the patient's room. The distinctive antiseptic scent still lingered, even though there were fresh flowers, neatly arranged on the small table beside the bed. On the bed, a girl named Era stared at her cell phone screen, scrolling through Jungkook's photos in the gallery with a faint smile. She was a true ARMY since long ago. Jungkook had been her life's inspiration. However, since a week ago, he had to be treated for an illness that had weakened him. "I really miss seeing him at the concert," she muttered softly, her voice almost drowned out by the sound of the medical equipment beating softly beside her. Her mother, who was sitting in the corner of the room, smiled softly. "You have to get well soon, honey. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to see Jungkook in person." Era only smiled slightly, even though her heart was a little gloomy. She knew that dream felt far away, but suddenly, there was a soft knock on the door of her hospital room. A nurse came in with a smile on her face. Ara, there's someone who wants to see you, she said. Ara frowned. Who? The nurse only smiled mysteriously before opening the door wider. And there he stood, Jungkook. Ara froze, her eyes wide as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Jungkook, with his black hoodie and mask still covering half of his face, stepped in with a bouquet of flowers in his hands. The atmosphere outside the hospital was so quiet. Only the sound of the night wind blowing softly could be heard. However, inside a VIP room, a young man lay weakly on a hospital bed. His face that was usually full of enthusiasm now looked pale. Jungkook, a member of BTS who is loved by millions, is fighting a disease that is eating away at his body. News about his condition spread quickly, making his fans' army around the world feel anxious. Social media was filled with prayers and hopes for Jungkook to recover soon. In front of the hospital, hundreds of fans gathered, holding candles and posters that read "Get well soon, Jungkook." Inside his room, Jungkook opened his eyes slowly. He stared at the ceiling, trying to gather his strength. His manager, who had faithfully accompanied him, smiled and showed him his cell phone. "Look at this, Kook. Army sends millions of prayers for you," he said softly. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears as he read the loving messages from his fans. Although his body was weak, his heart was filled with warmth. He took a deep breath, determined to get well. He didn't want to disappoint those who had always supported him. A few days later, the doctor brought good news. Jungkook's condition began to improve. His first smile in weeks finally returned to his face. And outside the hospital, the army who had never tired of praying could finally breathe a sigh of relief. They believed that miracles happen because of great love. Jungkook returned, stronger than ever. He promised himself and his fans that he would keep singing, keep dreaming, and keep bringing happiness to the world.